yesterday. We were on the top 15%, but now we're in the top 10%. So thank you guys from all over the world. I appreciate you guys. And I'm super excited to welcome to the show tonight, Anine Ekelund. Anine, what's going on? Welcome to the Raw and Unscripted show, my dear.
Thank you so much. I'm super psyched to be on.
Yes, I know you've been traveling, you've been rocking and rolling. So thank you for being there. You're in Switzerland. I'm here in California. So it's 9 a.m. my time and it's 6 p.m. there, your time. So I love this, that we're able to talk to each other from opposite sides of the world. So I appreciate you being here. And the first question I want to ask you is, in going through your website and going through all your list of credentials and everything else, what do you want most to get across to people tonight? People are watching, people are listening. What do you really want them to walk away from this conversation knowing and understanding about themselves and about the world?
Okay, so I am a big believer that we live to give, that we are born for a purpose, and that true happiness comes when we actually start sharing who we are and our background, experiences, everything that we have experienced in our lives, we can use to make a difference to other people. So I want for people to, one, dare to be real, to really be their true selves. Because when we hold back all of who we are, then there's a little dimmer on our energy. So the more real we are, the more vibrant, energetic, and alive we become. And that requires that we know ourselves deeply and intimately, and that we invest time to really get to know ourselves.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Thank you for saying that. You talked about purpose. What is it that you had to do to discover your purpose, Anine?
Ooh, yes, it was a journey, I tell you. So as a child, I got really disconnected from myself. By nature, I'm this exuberant, heart-centered, creative, courageous, wild woman. And I love to deeply connect with people soul to soul. But along the way, because of my childhood kind of traumas and experiences, I became more and more insecure. Growing up with step siblings that were putting me down. I had an alcoholic stepfather. My mother was miserable. No one could really support me, and I was just floating, right? And so I didn't show up for school. I became insecure and put up a tough front to survive. I became very courageous and wild, which I already was. But so I kind of played on those strengths that I had, but I was disconnected from my authentic self, and I didn't really believe I had anything to give to anybody. I thought I was broken. And so, trotting along, I actually was able to gather myself when I was about 15 years old. I said to myself that, if I want a different life from my mother, I need to really take charge of my life, because I had been quite wild. I mean, too wild. Got into
we would have got along way back in the day,
and drugs and God knows what, and I was really going downhill. And from the moment when I decided, I want to be the best person I can be and just work from rock bottom, because I was really rock bottom. At that time, I slowly started to grow as a human being, but it actually took until I was about 40 years old when I found myself actually on the floor crying and saying to myself, shit, I have not kept my promise of not going in the footsteps of my mother. I am suffering. And why I was suffering was that because I had not dealt with insecurities of core insecurities, I was giving my power away all the time. I was living my husband's dream. I was living, I was trying to get my kids to live the dream that I did not, like whatever I didn't do, I wanted them to do.
Yeah.
And I was failing. I was not happy, and I was, complaining. I was bitching. We were arguing at home, and I thought I need to take my life in my own hands. And I then discovered, I came up with this life purpose model, actually after I had led a workshop for women my own age in Stockholm. And they all felt like they were miserable. They were not really happy despite having it all. They had the husband, or they had the kids, the home, they traveled. They from the outside they looked like they had a perfect life, but they were not truly happy. And I thought, you know what? I think it's because we don't truly see, love, and accept ourselves for who we are.
Mhm.
Yeah, we need to connect with our purpose. And this model just came to me. I was sitting on the airplane going back to Switzerland, where I was living at the time. I'm not Swiss, I'm Norwegian, so I'm a nomad. But that's one of the reasons why I was miserable, because I really did not want to live in Switzerland, because I didn't speak the language. I'd followed my husband's dream, and it just didn't suit my personality, and where the country and the culture was at the time. It didn't go in alignment with who I was as a person. But after I discovered my life purpose, things just completely shifted for me. When I realized it's not about what you're here to do, it's who you're here to be.
Amen.
Yeah. It
Ooh,
is all about the being, and the being precedes the doing. So
yes.
when I started showing up as my true self, because I knew myself, I could set healthy boundaries at home. I started taking care of myself like I'd never done before. I changed everything, my diet, my exercise, my sleep, everything I did to invest so much in myself that I could show up being my most powerful and radiant and kind self. Because when you're not kind to yourself, you cannot really be kind to others.
Yes.
And my life completely shifted really from that point on.
Wow. Anina, that is powerful. That is powerful. Thank you. And for you guys listening, make sure you're taking notes on this stuff, because this stuff can transform your life. I know exactly what you're talking about, Anina, because, I've experienced a lot of that myself. And one of the questions that I have for you that I think it's going to be powerful for the audience is, talk to us about blame, and talk to us about forgiveness and empathy. Because I imagine there's got to be some blame in there, some blame towards yourself, some blame towards maybe your parents, or you talked about your mom a little bit. Talk to us
Oh
about
my
that
God.
journey of learning not to blame anymore and to accept responsibility and ownership, and how empathy and forgiveness also helped you heal. Because I know so many people out there, when I talk to them as coaching clients or just in the general public, they're like, well, if it wasn't for my mom, or if it wasn't for the government, if it wasn't for my uncle, if it wasn't for the church, if it wasn't, then I would be. And it's like, well, that happened
Oh my
once,
God. I've
but you
been
keep
there.
repeating that past, you keep repeating that pattern within yourself. So that's your responsibility. So talk to us about that from your perspective.
Yeah. Okay. So I was there for a long time. So it began with that I wasn't blaming my parents or my childhood so much in the beginning. I thought it was something seriously wrong with me. But then my husband was starting to blame me and say that, oh, because of, your family or background, blah, 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 you are who you are, and don't think you can show up, with me like you do at home, or how they treat each other at your that they treated you in your childhood. And so then I thought, I don't only have to blame myself. I can blame, I have more people to blame, so for a long time, I was really a victim, until I decided to take back my power and I found my purpose. I went through my childhood wounds. So yes, there were lots of things that was not good in my childhood. So many mistakes made. But what I realized is that I have become who I am based on all the shit that I had experienced. It made me into who I am today. And when I could um, draw the strengths, the character strengths, and the lessons I learned, it really, and it gives me goosebumps even talking about it. It gave me power. And what I also did was that with both my mother and my father, and I put them in two categories, because my mother was a phenomenal woman on so many levels. I I was actually being a little bit bitter towards her, and I know that it hurt her, and I didn't want to show up like that anymore. So after discovered my purpose, I went to her and I said, Mom, I want to invite you for a weekend away where I would like to share with you how I saw my background and what it did to me, uh, and I would like to kind of clear all that with you. Would you be okay with that? And so she was, fine and delighted actually to have some time alone with me. So he went away to a completely new city, and I set the stage. I said to her, I would like to speak with you until I'm done. I don't know how long it's going to take, but without you interrupting, without you asking questions, I just want to have this space where I can talk about everything, all my memories. And she said, okay. And I said, when I'm done, it's your turn. And so it was the most healing, most, yeah, comforting, empowering thing that I've ever done. Uh, and our relationship became so much stronger. I mean, it was already strong because she was my everything growing up. But I felt that I did not have to be, bitter with her anymore. She had done the best she could. I totally forgave her for whatever she had done. She did. She truly had showed up the best she could. I knew that, but somehow, being bitter, and if you don't give that 100% forgiveness, it will still linger in you. But for me, it was important to speak with her and speak my truth with her. And I never ever was cocky with her after that. I never had to kind of put in the knife. And when she did things that annoyed me, or didn't even annoy me, when she did things that used to annoy me, I could just watch her and I think, my gosh, she would often like kind of push me in the kitchen. She would just kind of push me physically away instead of asking me to move, for example. And I was just like, in the past, I would like, what are you doing? But now it was like, here's my mom, she doesn't
Yep.
speak. She just, physically kind of shovels me away. It's okay. She has her things, she has many gifts, but, those one of the things that was maybe a little annoying, but, I could laugh at her weaknesses. And, and also in terms of my husband, I felt also victimized towards my husband. I don't know whether you want to break in there or whether I should continue.
Sure,
I
sure.
could
Whatever
probably
you feel comfortable with,
yeah,
whatever you feel is going to
yeah.
provide value to the listener, because I think this is awesome. I know so many people are going through these experiences themselves. They're blaming their parents. They're blaming themselves. They've
Mhm.
gone through hard times. They're trying to rebuild their life. So I think what you're talking about is perfect.
Okay, good. Yeah, so with my husband, I had a tendency to look at his weaknesses
Yeah.
and also feel victimized by him, and, why he wasn't, strong within the areas that I thought was better to be strong, right? And so then I would end up feeling as a victim also in my relationship to him, until I realized, opposites attracts, right?
Yes.
To have the best offspring. And so whatever, I'm good at, I can bring to the kids, to the relationship, and whatever he's good at, he can bring in. And by me actually celebrating what he's good at and stop criticizing him, because I was criticizing him, and it came from total ignorance, and also feeling that I didn't know myself. I didn't know my own strengths, and therefore I couldn't really see his strengths. But when I saw myself, I could see him so much more clearly. And
Yes.
our relationship became like, I mean, completely different. It had been a power struggle, and, I would maybe feel like an underdog often, or I put myself above and below and whatever. To, but now we have this power balance in our relationship, which I want every couple to have. Because if one person is leaning over the other, that other person is not going to feel good, and they might, if they don't have it within them, they will just back more and more, and the person leaning in will just feel bored, because there's
Yes.
no one there to meet them. So both parties have to really show up and be strong and stand up for who they are, and set boundaries, but clear the air. And I have so much around how to find that power balance in relationships, which I am so passionate about, seeing my mom being in several very destructive relationships and not having a voice, which made her actually sick and die, I think, because I think she just numbed herself after
Yeah.
years and years of maybe trying, but not really succeeding. And yeah, it just hurt me to see this beautiful soul passed way too early because she
That's
numbed
rough.
herself. Yeah, numbing
Mm.
ourselves is not a good thing.
No, I just came to that realization as well myself. I just published a video where I've been drank. I think we talked about this before when we talked before. I've drank most of my life. I haven't been, an alcoholic, but I've gone to alcohol for periods, where it helps me take me down. Like I'm so hyper, and helps me just like, oh, this is what normal people feel like. I'm not thinking about 10,000 things at once, right?
Mm.
I'm not going,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
Yeah.
talking a million miles an hour. I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this is how normal people feel. And I just decided
Mm-hmm.
recently, as I was taking a drink and I was thinking about my goals and everything and about congruency. And I thought, okay, my biggest goal really is to see my son. He's 6 years old. He's going to be 7 next month. I want to see him get older. I want to see him get married. I want to see him have kids. But here I am literally putting literal poison down my throat. And I can drink quite a bit and not have it affect me. And I think that's not a very good thing when you're thinking about your liver and your kidneys and all different aspects of your body. It's one of the number one cancer causing agents. So last weekend, I decided to quit drinking. And normally when I've quit for 3 months. I've quit for, 75 days or whatever. But I've always had an end date. Like, oh, I only have to do it for 3 months. I only have to do it for 4 months. This time I just decided to quit. And so if I ever do again, I do. But if I don't, then I don't. And so you're right. We have to face our truth. We have to face the reality of the situation we're in. And until we do that, our life is always going to be subpar. And the one thing I wanted to ask you, 2 things that come to my mind. First, do you have any siblings, any brothers or sisters?
Yes. So
And how are they? How are they doing? Have they gone the same road as you have, or are they still in that victim status?
It's interesting. When I was 5 and my brother was 3, my mom fell in love with the neighbor, and she read in a book, early 70s. What do you do when you want a divorce, right? And Dr. Spook was an American psychologist who said that boys should grow up with their fathers and the girls with their mothers. So she left my little brother of 3 to live with my father, which was not a good idea. Maybe, at least not then, because a boy is very attached to their mothers at that age, right? And so he really suffered, and I think he still suffers a lot from insecurities of that abandonment that he experienced. But he's a beautiful soul, and he's a hard worker. But I see that his potential is so much greater than what he's doing. I just wish he would have started his own company, because people love to work with him. But I think his fear of not being good enough, or like not being able to do it, has just kept him in a safe job. So he's not a person that will complain, and blame or things. But he's like that elephant, that had the chain, as a baby, and just keep on having that chain despite being such a phenomenal person, not daring to liberate himself fully. And then I have a half sister, and my mom married a guy that had 4 kids. I mean, it's been quite a journey of lots of kids in and out. And then she divorced him, and then she met some other guy with kids, and so I don't want to go into their stories, but I think that most people who are not living their purpose and potential somehow, have victim stories, right? Or some other, limiting patterns and saboteurs that's holding them back. And so one of the things that I do to help my clients is really to identify which saboteur is their number one saboteur, or their top three, because we often have several, right? Like for me, it's been like I've been a controller, like I want to control everything, right?
Mhm.
And controlling people, and also being a perfectionist has
Yes.
held me back, and being aware of that. And I really have to be attentive, so I don't go into that anymore.
The
I
default identity, right? It's a
Yeah,
default
sorry.
identity. It's a
Yes,
default
it default.
identity. That's where we get that certainty from. If I control
Yeah,
things, if I have perfection, then I'm in
yeah,
control and I'm more empowered in such a way. But actually, really, we're still little boys and little girls trying to figure it out.
yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah, and when we try to control things that is not within either our control, or trying to control other people, we lose every time, right? So there's no point where it's a losing game. So and that was something that was a major shift for me when I let go of that, and let other people, be them, and do their thing, and they can take my advice or support if they want it, but I can't enforce it, right?
Right.
And this perfectionism, I'm still working on,
Yeah.
because I think I can get too detail oriented, and and they say that the devil lies in the details.
Yeah.
And yes, to a certain extent, but you have to really understand when being perfect or doing, or striving for perfection is right, and when it's not, right?
So true.
So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, Anina. I mean, we share a brain in so many respects. And one of the things that I love that you're touching on is something that I found surprising during COVID as my gift back to people who are struggling and being isolated and, in their homes and not seeing people, seeing their loved ones, is I gave complimentary coaching sessions to people. I just gifted them. I said, hey, if you want a 45-minute session with me, if you're feeling down, I would love to entertain that with you. And I did about 150 of them, 200. I didn't really keep track. And one of the things that I heard this little whisper as I did about the 25th one, I heard this little whisper that said, ask them this question. And I said, in my head, I was like, that's a weird question, right? They're going to think I'm crazy. And I just looked at the person over Zoom and I said, okay, I'm going to ask you a question. It's a yes or no question. And I don't want you to think too much about it. I want you to go with your gut. And they're like, okay, what is it? And I said, do you love yourself? Yes or no? And I was shocked, Anina. It was, I thought people were like, well, yeah, of course I love myself. What are you, crazy? And I found I'm not a big statistics guy. I can say that. I'm not a big statistics guy, but I found that 75%, 80% of the people had to pause and they struggle with, well, yeah, there's parts of me I love, or wow, it's a great question. No, I don't even like myself. And so we got into these really deep conversations, but I said, but yet you're expecting the best job. You're expecting the best, personal relationship. You're expecting the best for yourself. But the first core foundation is to love yourself. And we talked about this, being your authentic self. I said in the opening, like being unapologetically you. This is something that I've had to be on that journey with, because I was very successful on paper, but I was being everybody for everybody else. Like for my boss, if I was that person, I was successful. For my customers, I was that person, I was successful. For my relationship, if I was that person, I was successful. But inside, I was miserable. And I wasn't loving myself because I wasn't being congruent. What are like some top tips that you recommend for people who struggle to love themselves? What are some tangible things that they can actually do in their life right now that will help them start to take that ownership and start to look at things from a different lens?
Well, there are so many things they can do, but one thing is go through all the challenges that they've had in their lives, and look at how they overcame those. What strengths do they have
Yeah.
that help them overcome the challenges? That's one thing, and also start looking at the impact they are making on other people. What the difference do they know that they are making to other people? Maybe they are good listeners, or kind, or helpful, or generous, or whatever. Just start identifying some of their character traits that says something about their unique being.
Yes.
And then their growth, their personal growth journey. We all grow and learn, and start noticing the difference between who you used to be and where you are now. I think that a lot of people get in kind of that happiness trap of wanting to be somewhere they are not, and then they feel less than because they're not already there. Instead, start looking at what you actually the journey you have traveled so far, and congratulate you for your achievements. And like gratitude in general, oh my God, it is
Yes.
life transforming. Yeah, yeah, feeling every day, you know, when you go to bed at night. I mean, I heard that you actually set intention for the day. I always set intention for my
Yes.
day as well, and because it is magic how it works, and how it supports me throughout the day. And I set actually different intentions. I ask my soul every morning after my journal writing. I ask myself, okay, so what is most important for me to accomplish today, and what is something that you know, what is it that I need to set as an intention in order to achieve that whatever goal that I set. And then when I review my day, I feel gratitude, and really thank myself for having showed up the best, to the best of my abilities. And I did this exercise with some people some years ago, and it all transformed our lives massively. And now I use this with my clients, and so they actually send me their gratitude on a daily basis, and I, you know, to get into the habit, because it's hard sometimes to start this habit on their own.
Right.
And having me as their accountability kind of partner for actually getting it done and cheering them on gets me into the habit. And I think there's nothing that rewires your brain as much as positive reinforcement of you know, who you are and what you actually have accomplished, and all the great things in your life, period, you know.
It's so true. It's so true. That's the cornerstone of what I do every single day is gratitude, because, you know, they say where focus goes, energy flows. And
Yeah.
so I invite people to sit there and have this consideration that your mind doesn't know the difference between real reality and perceived reality, because we've all had bad dreams, right? We've all had a bad dream, and we've woken up in the middle of the night going, oh my God, you know, we were being chased by a bull. We were running backwards, you know, whatever, in the snow, you know, something was going on, but we woke up and our heart was beating and we were sweating. We were thinking, oh my God, that just happened. But nothing physical happened. It was all a movie in our brain. And so I invite people to sit there and play that movie intentionally every single day when you wake up. I know for me, I haven't spoken on stage since 2016 by choice, because I had my son and I just wanted to be a present father. But still to this day, when I wake up in the morning, I see myself walking out on stage, AC/DC Highway to Hell's playing, and I see this full auditorium of people, and they're just like, yeah. And I'm like, what's up, fuckers? Let's go. And I'm just like doing this massive speech to get them all riled up, getting them to think differently. And so I see, feel it, and I hear it, and I taste it. I could smell the air. I could feel the wind. I could feel everybody's energy in the audience. And so that one day will manifest, and I'll walk out there and I'm like, there it is. And so I invite people to have that perspective. And you said something in there, Anine, that I really want to touch on. That's something that's been important for me for a couple of years for my own growth. It was many years ago. I've been out of corporate now for almost 4 years. Actually, what is today? Holy crap. Today's the day.
No way.
No way. Here, November 7th, 2019. Oh my God, I just got chills. November 7th, 2019, 4 years ago today, I walked into my corporate job where I'd been for 26 years, and they invited me to leave. We had talked about a succession plan before, but we had talked about being in a collaborative effort. And I walked in one day and I had a new boss for the last 3 months, and she decided she didn't like me, which is fine. And so they invited me to leave. And when I got home, you know, I was sitting there thinking about everything, and I'm like, you know, I did the best I could. And I was sitting there, I was saying, I did the best I could. You know, I was there for 26 years. You know, the corporate changed. It became about KPIs.
26 years.
Yeah. I am that old. I'm not 30. so
But
yeah,
that's commitment. That is real commitment.
It was an amazing organization for so many years, and I have no ill will towards anybody. It was the perfect time. I'd been coaching and speaking on the side for 20 years. It was my side hustle. You know, I was really good in my corporate career. I have a master's degree in organizational management, so it was fine. I love leading people. I love building teams. I'm good at operations. I'm great at operations. But I'd always been like, okay, when am I going to leave and do my coaching? When am I going to leave and do my speaking? But the bigger aspect of it was I was talking about, I did the best I could, you know, thinking about my boss. And then I sat there and I stopped myself and I'm like, was that your best, Chris? You know, when you think about it, when we're kids, Anine, did you do the best you could on your math homework? Yes, I did. Okay, we'll do better next time. But nobody really sits with us and say, okay, what can you do to be better? How do we qualify better? We just sit there and feel like it's a get out of jail card. Like, okay, if I just say I'm doing my best, then people will leave me alone. Oh, you know, you got financial problems. I'm doing the best I can. Okay. You know, I got a relationship problem. I'm doing the best I can, but really our best is so much better. I mean, that's one of the reasons I really named myself the no excuses coach, because I just don't give people excuses. You know, there's so much more best within us. And there's a lot of different philosophies that I subscribe to. When people are saying that they're doing their best and you know they're not, what is it that you advise them to do or ask them in order to find out what their real best truly is?
I just love this, you know. Yeah, so I think I so much believe in honesty and giving feedback. It's without feedback we stagnate. They actually say that a child who receives a negative feedback is better than having no feedback at all, right? Like
I believe it.
So even though it doesn't feel good, you know, at least, you know, they are seen, right? Because otherwise you don't feel seen. So for me, I always ask permission. I try at least to ask permission, you know, do you want to hear, you know, I see something. And I talk about something called the Johari's window. Have you heard of it?
No, I have not.
No. Okay, so there are 4 quadrants of the Johari's window. So the first quadrant is I know certain things about myself that nobody else knows, right? Then there's another window that is I know something about me that you also know about me.
Right.
Okay. Then there's another quadrant. There's something that you know about me that I don't know about myself.
Yeah.
Our opportunity and potential lies in the 4th window when we are open to feedback from a person or from the people around us to tell us what we don't see ourselves. And we start sharing what we have been hiding, you know, from others about what's going on with us, you know, daring to be vulnerable, daring to share our truth. Then we can step into our true potential, which lies there in the 4th quadrant. So when I explain this, and I come from my heart and I'm there for their well-being, you know, I heard once, you know, when are you going to stop, you know, telling your victim story? Somebody told me. And I was like, what? You know, I said, you know, I'm so stressed all the time. You know, it's like, it was almost like somebody else was living my life, you know, like I was not in charge of the reins, you know, like
Exactly.
So I was like, it was the best I've ever gift I ever heard. I mean, it was very bluntly given. So I, you know, sometimes I can be I can be a little bit blunt. At least my kids think so, that I can be a little too blunt and honest. But if they ask for feedback, then I can be very, very truthful.
Sure.
But you know, I try to package things so it lands as well as possible. But I'm not going to ignore what I see. You know,
Right.
and I really see things.
Yeah,
And
me
I
too.
have, and I think that that's one of the gifts I have of being a good coach, is that I truly see where people can release blocked energies and come alive. You know, like whatever they are doing that are holding them back. You know, I can oftentimes see that, and where their potential lies. So I see both their gifts, which they oftentimes don't see themselves,
Right.
and I see where they're holding themselves back. Have I answered your question, you feel?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. And I love that because, what you said there is an opportunity for us to all ask ourselves questions and to be asked questions. I had a gentleman on the show. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but he actually wrote a bunch of books about asking questions, about, the power of questions and things of that nature. So at me being the interviewer that I am, I've been doing this for 10 years. I thought, okay, I got to ask this guy some questions that puts him, stumps him. Right. And so I actually did ask him 2 questions that he goes, I think he called them, golden questions or something like that. He goes, Christopher, you just asked me a golden question or a platinum question or something like that. And so I love asking questions because when we ask the right questions of other people and especially of ourselves, it's pretty incredible what we can unlock when we're truthful with ourselves. And that's what I pride myself on. We're talking about being a coach, is being able to ask people certain questions that if they tell themselves the truth, I get them to come to the solution on their own. So I don't have to tell them anything.
Yes.
For you, Anine, what are some of your favorite questions, either to ask yourself or to ask your clients, that gets them to have those breakthrough moments?
So one of the questions I like to ask, it differs from person to person, of course.
Sure.
But what does it mean to be real for you? Who are you really? And what does it mean for you to be real? Yeah. And oftentimes people can't answer that question.
You got to drill down about 6 times to get to the real answer.
Yes, exactly. I ask questions about who they, when they were a child, who were you as a child before you got conscious about the world and trying to adapt and to the standards, and some favorite childhood experiences. I like them to share some childhood experiences that were very positive for them, so they can kind of get in touch with who they were before everything started to kind of crumble for them. I often also ask them, how can your life get any better than it is right now?
Ooh,
I believe that.
Yeah.
What do you believe? So most people settle, right? But in any situation, whether it's bad or it's good, how can it get any better than this? What more is possible? And when you ask yourself that, I've been asking myself that so many times, and the answers just come, because we have the answers within us. We are so much more resourceful than we think. And so very simple questions, but often get to the essence of things. So for you, how can your life get any better than it is now, you think?
You're asking me that right now?
Yeah.
How can my life get any better than it is right now? I think that's a great question. That's something that I just alluded to previously in talking about quitting drinking. I'm very successful. I'm very happy. I'm very healthy. I'm very vibrant, but it's just all of that matter of asking myself that question. When did complacency become okay? Right. When did mediocrity become okay? And for me, it's about taking it to that next level. I serve and I impact thousands of people with my podcast and my speeches and everything. But how can I impact millions? And my true legacy in this world will be the fact that I impacted millions of people to shift their identity, to shift their focus, to make this world a better, more loving place. And so when I was thinking about how I was taking care of myself, I drank every once in a while. And I had some sweets every once in a while, some cheeseburgers and stuff like that. So for me to answer that question is to take that much better care of myself. So if I'm operating here and I'm taking care of myself here, what is it going to take to get to here? It's going to take that, being really clear, being very energetic, being very in shape, being very intentional about living that legacy to 100% versus 90%. And so we talk about that. We talk about doing our best. So for me, that's what it is. It's about leveling up and not sitting there saying, well, I'm happy and I kind of want to have fun and I kind of, want to have balance in life. Those are all stupid little excuses. But as I approach 55 years old next year, my biggest goal, like I said before, is to see my kid have kids and to live a long, healthy life, not to get cancer. Everybody in my family has died of cancer. So for me, answering that question is about taking better care of myself and executing even at a higher level, bringing more professionals into my life to help me take that scalability up to the next level. Before I was like, okay, I like my life. It's balanced. I don't have to be stressed out about it. I don't have to take on too much. But now I'm at that point where, Chris, you need to rise to that next level. So that's my answer to that question.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to come up on time.
Yeah.
So for me, I wanted to share a couple of questions with you that I found recently for myself and for my clients that have really helped. Is in any point in situation that we're in life, we can always ask ourselves, what am I supposed to be learning from this? No matter if it's something that's positive, whether it's something that's constructive. I've had my challenges recently with some other areas of my life. And so as much as I like to control things, like you said, or feel that I've already done the work, I just ask myself that question, like, Chris, you can't rush it, so what am I supposed to be learning from this? Because I know in my heart of hearts that everything that's happened, and you kind of alluded to this, everything that's happened and everything that's happening is preparing me for what's next. But if I'm focused on that, I'm not going to get that. So the first thing I ask myself is, what am I supposed to be learning from this? And then another question that I've asked some of my clients recently, and potential clients, as I've asked them, they tell me about everything and they seem like they're okay. And I'm like, when will you have had enough? It's always hard for me to say that sentence. When will you have had enough? It's like you're going to get to a point where you're going to snap. It may be 2 months, 6 months, 6 years from now, but you're going to get to that point if you keep doing what you're doing. So if I can get them to see when it is that they're going to snap, we can create that leverage now. They can change now and not have the regret later. So those are a couple of my questions.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Having that mindset, that's a real growth mindset, to never feel victimized in any situation, no matter what happens. You break a leg, or you miss that flight or whatever. If you always look at what you can learn from the situation, even like terrible things might happen to you, but there's always something you can draw from it, and that is liberating. It keeps your energy level high, because you don't go down, and you can feel pain, of course, of something dreadful happening, but you don't want to stay down there, right? You want to rise as soon as you can out of the kind of the state of sadness or mourning or whatever, and then draw the strength from the learning experience. And also, what was the second thing that you mentioned? I got derailed here with my jet lag and everything. What was the second area?
So what am I supposed to be learning from this? And when will I have had enough?
Yeah, when we had enough. And that is so good also. I normally ask, what are you accepting?
Yes.
What are you accepting in your life that, that is unacceptable? Because we have a tendency to just we get used to things. We end up in our comfort zone because we cannot grow like this all the time. We have plateaus, but when we've hit the plateau, we don't want to stay on that plateau for too long, because we become boring. We become boring to ourselves, and we start losing energy. So I love both of those questions that you ask. They're brilliant.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anine. I have one final question for you, and I'm going to place you solo screen for this. And I've been asking this recently because I'm really excited about this. You have a microphone to the whole entire world right now. You have a microphone to the entire universe of people on the planet. You have 60 seconds. What do you tell them?
Oh, wow. You have a purpose in your life, and to find more meaning and happiness, go out and identify, who are you at your core? What makes you come alive? What are you passionate about? What really do you enjoy doing? And start doing more of what you enjoy doing. And stop doing all the things that you think that you ought to do, because I'm sure there are people that can do things that you don't like to do, so that you don't lose a lot of energy from doing mediocre things that others do better than you. Then also identify your strengths. What is it that really makes your brain come alive, that you do easily? Find out what that is. And then what do you value in your life? What are your core values, the things that really makes your heart pump and that you are willing to fight for in your life? And when you combine, who you are, your experiences with your passions, and draw on your strength and your talents and do more of what comes natural for you, and you live from your core values, you will truly come alive and make the difference that you were meant to live in your life.
Bravo. Bravo. Anine Ekelund, thank you so much for being here on the Raw and Unscripted show. This has been a powerful conversation. I know within my heart of hearts that people are going to be having to go back and listen to this again, watch this again, because there are so many massive nuggets that you dropped today that will move people past their limiting beliefs and move them past that negative self-love aspect. Where can people get a hold of you to continue the conversation with you, my dear?
Yes, so they can reach me. I am on Instagram under Aninergy, which is my first name with energy combined together.
Spell that for the people listening.
Yeah, it's Aninergy. And my website is also aninergy.com, or AnineEkelund.coach is another website. But the best thing to get a hold of me or to connect with me is actually by booking in a free call with me. I love to connect with people. That is one of my my greatest joys in life and passions. So feel free to book in a free call with me, and we go from there.
Awesome. Anine, I'm going to make sure that calendar link is inside the show notes. So people watching this or listening to it on the podcast, they can go into the show notes and find that link and definitely connect with you. I would love for them to do that, because it really is. It's all about the fact that when we take that proactive action, not the reactive action, when we hit rock bottom, it's really about finding that leverage to say today that I'm ready to change. I'm ready to go that next level. I'm ready to find what my best really is. So I encourage people to connect with you. You're a brilliant person. I've enjoyed this conversation so much, and I look forward to more with them with you. I'm going to place you backstage here for a second. I'm going to end out the show, but don't go anywhere because I still want to chat with you for a second.
Okay, great. It's been wonderful to be on. You are doing such beautiful work, really, Christopher. So thank you for giving me the opportunity. And I get goosebumps every time my body speaks to me. I know that there is something been really, really good. And you're a really good-hearted, wonderful person, which I must say to you from the beginning. When I heard the intro to your podcast, I was like, oh my God, what is this? And I saw you and I thought, this guy looks a little scary, but I'd never, yes, you looked a little scary to me. But then when I spoke to you the first time, it's like, oh my God, you are just the sweetest, warmest, most loving human being. So never judge a person by first impression or whatever, So that is something I've learned throughout the years also. So which is one of the reasons why I dare to be on this show with you. So yes,
well, I'm so glad you did. I'm so glad you did.
Right. Thank you for proving me right.
You got it. Thank you. I'm going to place you backstage here for a second. Don't go anywhere. So you have it, ladies and gentlemen, 48 minutes of pure brilliance. And I will say that confidently. Between myself and Anine, we have shared some deep-hearted secrets and opportunities for you guys to level up in your particular life. The question is now, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to take action on? What are you going to take responsibility for? Ooh, I said the R word. Chris said the R word, responsibility. Yes, it's a matter of when are you going to have enough? You guys are in the driver's seat. No matter what happened to you in your past, today is your opportunity. You're the one that's repeating that negative self-talk in your brain. And I encourage you, like Anine said, when you wake up in the morning, say what you're grateful for. And then set the intention for the day. And as you're going throughout your day, if you find yourself being negative or beating yourself up, ask yourself, did I set the intention today to beat the shit out of myself today? No, I didn't. No, I set the intention today to use my words and my actions to make this world a better place. I set my intention today to be present and playful with my kids. I set the intention today to work a little bit on my finances. I set the intention today to work a little bit on my physical health. Whatever it might be, then you stop what it is you're doing right there. You don't continue that pity party. You don't continue that blame game. You don't continue that bullshit. You decide for yourself that I've had enough. I'm going to do these things, because when you stop yourself and you catch yourself and you start doing different things, guess what? You start building confidence. You start building emotional resiliency. It's what I teach. When you have accountability for yourself, that's what happens. You start sitting there and you have that discipline. You have that discipline to do your best. Can I do one more rep? I just did a video on this yesterday. I called it the 1% rule. You can go check it out on my TikTok. You can go check it out on my YouTube, youtube.com/Christopher Rausch. It's the 1% rule. Every single day, if I can do one more rep, if I can walk one more half a block, if I can eat one less sweet thing, if I can continue to do that every single day, there's 365 days in a year, guys. You don't take the weekends off. 365 days, 1% every single day, compounded every single day. You think about yourself in 3 months. Oh my God, I have caught myself 100 times ready to go negative. I caught myself 100 times ready to not do my full 10 sets or my full 10 reps or whatever it is. And you do a little bit more. You get that extra burn in your muscle. I've been doing this as well. I'm going to be 55 next year. I made a goal for myself to be in the best shape of my life at 55. And I've been pretty good shape all my life, but now I'm going to take it up a bar. So when I do that extra rep, it's like, I'm going to do 25 sit-ups. No, I'm going to do 26. No, I could do 27. No, I could do 28. Oh my God, I could do 29. And then you get off there like, wow, I was going to do 20, but I decided maybe at the last minute I'll do 25, but I did 29. And you do that every single day with every single thing that you do. I'm going to go organize my kitchen. What other things can I do in my kitchen? Go check out the video. It's about 60 seconds, but I pack a lot of information in there. And I just appreciate you. And speaking of accountability, if you're interested in working with me, I've created a phenomenal program that is massively inexpensive. I won't say cheap. It's massively inexpensive because people came to me and said, Chris, can you hold me accountable? And because my coaching is very high level, people oftentimes can't afford to work with me. Unless you're high level type people, which is not to say anything different about your life, but I've created this accountability coaching program. I started it a week ago yesterday. I started it out of 2 weeks because people said, can you hold me accountable? So I've created this amazing program. If you go to my website, noexcusescoach.com, you go to the coaching tab. The first one up there is group accountability coaching. The first 3 months are even discounted even more, so you can kick the tires on it. The group met last week. I think we had 8 people in the group last week, and they were just off the hook about the quality of people. Each one is paired up with an accountability partner you meet up with once a week. You got me twice a month. You get me for an hour and a half, 90 minutes twice a month, doing teachable moments, holding people accountable. You have a private Facebook group where I hold you accountable every single day, and I put content in there. It's a ridiculous offer. Normally to work with me, it's $10,000 for 6 months. And I don't say that to boast, but I am expensive because I've worked my ass off to get to this point. So this group coaching is super, super inexpensive. It's $29 a month for the first 3 months. Then it goes to $49 a month. It's ridiculous. If you truly want to take responsibility for your life, go check it out, become a part of it. I've had 4 more people sign up for it. I'm not going to take too many more people. I want to make sure it's workable. We can do hot seats. I don't want to have to manage 30 people. I'm not looking for quantity. I'm looking for quality. And I'm looking for those people to go out there and use their gifts to make this world a better place. So if that entices you, please go check that out. I appreciate and love you guys. We'll be back here next week on the Raw and Unscripted show. Next week is, I believe, who do we have next week? Because you guys always ask me who's up next week. I've had some challenging names recently. So next up is Tassos Kotsias. I hope that is. So tune in next week. Again, if you're watching this on the video cast, please go subscribe to the podcast. You can just type in my Raw and Unscripted show. You could type in Christopher Rausch anywhere podcasts are sold. You'll find the podcast. You'll find this one. You'll find my Unfiltered Experience podcast as well. And so I love and appreciate you guys. Go listen to this again. Make sure you've taken notes and then take action every single day. Be super intentional with what it is that you're doing. And I promise you, you will live a life unapologetically. You'll become the rock star in your life, and you won't have any regrets when you die. You'll have a legacy that you're going to leave behind that you're going to be proud of. All right. So we'll see you here next time on the Raw and Unscripted show.